I'll tell you very briefly about what Geektrust does and what the event is all about before I hand it over to Pranav, who will take you through the clean code refactoring session. So Geektrust was started in 2015 and with the intent to help developers find jobs based on their coding skills as opposed to their resume. We have our own coding challenges that we have in backend, front end, and mobile. You will submit code, it will get evaluated based on real world parameters. You get a code evaluation report, and we'll match you with companies that are looking to hire candidates based on similar skill sets. Why we thought of diversity hiring and women hiring for the last couple of months, there was a very specific incident that happened. There was a woman who was coming back to work after a 12-year career break. She submitted code with us, she interviewed with us, and there were two opportunities that she had. One was for an internship through a return to work program, whereas another company wanted to hire her as a lateral, regardless of how many years of career gap she's had, because they saw her code, they saw her interview notes, and they were very impressed with it. So we thought this is a good way to help women who are looking to move careers, who are looking to get into better opportunities, who are looking to come back after a career break, where you don't know where you stand. It'll give you a good chance to evaluate your own skill sets and, uh, most importantly, work with companies who are looking to hire women who are great places to work, who do a lot of work to ensure that they're a good workspace for women in general. So how does this work? Every month we will have a hiring event. Companies will speak. They'll speak about why they're a good place to work for women. They'll speak about opportunities within the organization, in tech, for your own personal growth, and why it is that you should join them. Immediately the week following that, we'll schedule you for interviews, so you don't wait for too long to see whether this is a good opportunity or not. The week following the event will be for lateral movement, which means if you're currently working and you're looking to move, you will get to interview the week immediately after that. For women who are specifically coming back after a career break, the interviews will happen the week after that. Now, what you need to do before that, it's fairly straightforward. The only thing you'll have to do is ensure that you're submitting code. So there are different coding challenges that you can look at within the site. For this specific event, we've launched a new one. You can find it on the site, and you will be, I think you would have gotten an email as well. It's called ride sharing. That's the backend challenge. For backend challenges, you'll get feedback immediately. Please look at the feedback and see if you can improve on your code. For front-end challenges, you can use T-Rex Store. It takes around 3 to 4 days for us to get back to you with the evaluation. For mobile, you can use Finding Falcon. You will have to submit code by the 19th of April for us to ensure that you're getting interviewed in the week following that. You can test your code as many times as you'd like. You can keep improving on it till it reaches a point where you're happy with the result. You need a score of 30 and above to be eligible for interviews. Please ensure that two very important badges, readability and maintainability, please ensure that you do your best to get those two badges. That's it. It's pretty straightforward. This is all you need to do. If you have any questions, we'll be sharing a link to the Discord channel where you can ask any questions you have. I'll hand over to Pranav now. He's a senior dev. He's been with Geektrust for a while. He's had a lot of experience in, helping other developers upskill themselves. He has a good amount of experience in training as well. He'll take you through the refactoring and what are good ways to ensure that your code is clean. Over to you, Pranav. Thank you all so much. If you have any questions, please leave it in the chat box and one of us will get back to you. Thank you. Be well.
Thank you so much, Aishwarya, for that introduction. And hi, hello, and welcome everyone to the BWOW event. And I'm going to be the speaker for the next 1 hour, where I'll be talking about a refactoring exercise. We'll get to the challenge and how we'll be taking a look at the code in a bit. But before that, let me take some time to introduce myself and share an inspiring story on how women developers have had their impact in my life and contributed to the growth as a developer, and women developers who have also set uh, myself on the career path to becoming better and better day by day on my programming journey. The story goes back to like a decade from now, like when I was a diploma hire. So I got a head start in a career, in my career, a little ahead of time. So I was a diploma hire, and the program was particularly, designed in such a way that it will hire from diploma colleges or polytechnic colleges. That's a familiar term. They used to hire from a polytechnic colleges, and they used to design their academic or syllabus according to in order to groom us for the corporate life that lies ahead. And as you can imagine, there is a quite a mind shift or skill shift that needs to happen between the academic career and academic life and corporate life. So may it be skills like interpersonal communication, technical, everything needs like a relook and a revamp when it comes to every individual who joins the program. So while the program was designed in such a way, it was a task for every faculty who gets into the program to really give it their best, and make the desired impact that the program was originally designed to. Now, as you can imagine, it will be a huge challenge for every faculty to level everyone up. Basically, people who were hired in the program were from all over the nation. And as you can imagine, different polytechnic institutions will have their own different styles, different skilled faculties, things like that. So because of which the end result is the students would have different levels of foundations. So getting us all on same page before we kickstart on our career was really important. Giving everyone that stronger foundation and an equal level of skills was very important. And it is a pattern that I saw, that most of the faculties who join us were women faculty. So mainly like this goes back to like particularly like the C++ and the data structure algorithm class. So I'll be specifically picking up examples from technical, because these were like women developers. Mainly they were this particular faculty that I am talking about used to teach us C++ and data structures and algorithm in the initial 6 months. And it was important for us to get a good grasp at it, because the entire point of starting the C++ for anyone who would have started with that, it is clear that, it's a very basic language, which wherein, any individual who is going to be taught will be, getting a quite a good grasp at the programming skill in general, as you have to build everything from scratch, right? So C++ was one such language, and the women faculty who had joined then had taken an immense amount of effort, and ensured that we develop that love and interest for the language. And she used to ensure that at every point of time people are following. And at the end of the session, I still remember she used to give us this assignments or surprise tests where she would evaluate where each one of us stands. And at the end of the day, we were allowed to approach for our senior colleagues from who are external to the program, but they were like still someone who can help us. We used to call them mentors back then. And I still remember the main struggle there for me was the pointer arithmetic. So like basically I used to struggle with how much a particular pointer moves from one point to the other, like basically depending on the different data type sizes and things like that. So basically, I was fortunate enough to have this women mentor who used to sit together beside me and pitch in exactly where I'm going wrong, ensure that I'm able to visualize the concepts correctly, and have clear picture at every point of time, and basically helping me to build really hone the skill, my programming skill, and develop a love for clean code, which is why I am able to take this session. So uh, I for those women developers, I have nothing but gratitude in my heart, and the key takeaway that and the purpose of sharing with you all folks is that I want each and every one of you to take back one thing, which is like I want you to feel encouraged and empowered to go out there and make the impact that you are very much capable of. So, yeah, so I'll be so basically the story I wanted to share was regarding this. So I want you folks to go out there, make the impact, and make the difference that all of you are capable of. Right. So, okay, so with that, let's dive into the challenge. So before we get into the challenge, a few things to remember, like you can use the chat box to post in the question from time to time. I will be taking frequent checkpoints and checking the chat to cover as many questions I can. Um, so yeah, you can post your questions there. Okay, cool. Um, all right, so let me share my screen. So let me start by, so I'll be looking at two different screens as I have like a dual monitor setup at my end. So let it not bother you that I'm looking away from the camera and looking at my different screen. So yeah, so to begin with, yeah, so I'll share what this session is going to be about first. And so this session is going to cover how do we get started with the challenge, with any challenge basically. And then particularly, the session is going to be focused on this refactoring activity of moving away from a bad code to a good code. And we'll be using a specific challenge, one particular challenge from start till the end. So we'll spend some time to begin with to understand the problem statement, identifying the bad code or the code smells in the existing code, and then remediation of that bad code. We'll also cover idea of how to earn various badges, brief about testing, specifically unit testing, and and a few announcement, mostly the reiteration of what Aishwarya had just mentioned. So if you haven't noted it, don't worry, we'll be reiterating on it as part of at the end of the session. So what this session won't cover is an in-depth understanding of code smells and clean code. So it's assumed that you already are aware of most of the code smells, and those are like really simple ones. So uh, I hope you will follow. So and then this want to cover in-depth understandings of tools used, that is IDE, build tool, etc., and the language of choice, which is Java, and any other data structures / algorithms that are used in the solution. Um, yeah, and then yeah, basically any other like announcements for any future events or any other event won't be covered for as part of the session. Okay, cool. With that, let's dive right into the challenge. First up is the problem statement. So we'll be taking in a problem statement from the past. This is, by the way, deprecated. This is no longer present in our problem. I mean, our platform. So the problem statement is about the family tree. Uh, you might be aware of. So by the way, this is a PDF that a challenge document that we used to host in our platform. You can download one of these or check it out on our site, where we discuss what is a problem statement in detail, and what are the sample and inputs and outputs that are possible, and specific instruction to build and execute in specifically your language of choice, in this case Java. Then what are the supported languages and versions across different language of choice? How do you go about submitting the code and things like that? Okay, so yeah, let's begin. So the family tree is basically starting off with uh, two individuals at the root of the tree. So basically, we are introduced to a root called King Shan and Queen Hunga, and then rest of the tree is given as an initial state. So basically, whatever you see here is the initial state of the tree that we need to work with, and there are a bunch of operations to be supported. So before we get to the operation, it's important to understand relationships. So just like any family tree, we have to support under like or encapsulate this domain understanding of what each relationships mean. So most of them are like just like how it works in the real world. Paternal uncle is father's brother, maternal uncle is mother's brother. Similarly, paternal and maternal aunt are fathers and mothers, sisters, sister-in-law and brother-in-law, spouses, sisters, and spouses, brothers, respectively. Son, daughter, and siblings are like direct relationships, which are self-explanatory. And yeah, so you're given a sample input and output. Basically, this helps the automation see if the program that you're submitting is actually correct or not. So that's how you should test at your end as well, at the end before you submit the code. Yeah, so we are expected to support two main operations. One is adding the child and getting the relationship. Adding the child always happens through mother's name and the child's name, and then the gender of the child. Similarly, the get relationship happens the same way, like you're given a person's name, and you're supposed to list all the members of the family who satisfy this particular relationship with this particular person. And also like the output, there is expected output. So for add child, it is expected that you output whether the child addition succeeded or failed by explicitly messaging out this particular term, child addition succeeded or child addition failed. So it can only fail if the addition of child happens via male and not a female, as in mother. Child addition is expected to happen via mother, not father. So in that case, the child addition will fail. Then we also have the add child, add child we discovered, get relationship, which is expected to output just the names of the family members who will satisfy a particular relationship. Okay, cool. And it's important to stick to these outputs because the automation at the other end is going to look for them while declaring your program as correct or incorrect. Similarly, if add child or get relationship operations are given a person that does not exist in the tree, then the output should be person not found. Yeah, and rest of them are just instruction on how to build and things like that. Okay, so with that, let's get into the code. I'll share my other screen where there is Okay. All right. Cool. I hope you folks are able to see my screen. Yeah. Um, yeah. So we are given at the beginning we are given a code. So because this is going to be a refactoring activity, uh, we already have a code in place which is current, like which is bad and has code smells and things like that. Um, so we are given this code base where we have three classes: family, main, and person. Looks like a little bit of domain objects actually exist. So I see familiar terms coming in from the problem statement, which is like family and person here. So it looks like the whoever is the author has at least aimed for correctness. So it's important that you start the refactoring activity once you get the correct code in, and yeah, before the submission basically. So our platform is not just going to look for correctness, but also how cleanly you write the code. So make sure you do this activity after you achieve correctness, but before you submit it to the platform. Yeah. Okay, so just like any other Java code, by the way, just a quick digress. I'm using the ID called IntelliJ. I hope most of you are familiar, and I'll be using its shortcuts and things like that. But it's equally achievable irrespective of what ID you use. I'm just using that to speed things up a little bit. Okay, so and I'm using Java 11 as part of this, and the build tool that I'll be using is Gradle. Yeah, so and a lit and JUnit 5 for tests. Okay, so with that, let's take a look at what the main entry point has to uh, implement. So basically, it has a seed family to begin with. Input family is given, or rather hard coded right here. Um, so point of the what the exercise that we are doing right now is identifying bad code. We are not going to like edit it right away and change things in place right away. The point of this is to identify as many code smells as we can, um, and yeah, and then take up the refactoring activity. So so yeah, basically the main starts by introducing a seed family, and which is hard coded in place, which means the program is not going to be able to entertain any other family tree other than what it is already hard coded to. That's one bad code. Then family get instance happens over here, which is just getting the family of tree object out of it. Then we read some file where query is going to be written, some unused code right here. So whatever you see in the gray, the ID tries to highlight that as unused or not required. Yeah, so and then you keep reading each line of the query file, splitting it by space. So basically, query parsing that's going on over here, and then based on length, we choose to get relationship or add member. So this is another bad code right here. So because we are like what type of operation is going to be done is based on the length of the command, not what the actual command is. So if the contract is going to change tomorrow, let's say like basically get relationship is going to be 4, or rather there is another command which is also of 4 length, like which expects the input to be of length 4, then it's going to be this program is going to confuse it with add member and trigger that operation rather than listening to the command that is coming in from the query. Okay, so that's one. Also, I believe there are a couple of unused imports right here. So I think ID already does some job of warning us. So it's important that the refactoring activity begins by listening to what ID has to offer. So things like what you see in yellow are warnings. So it's important that you start by listening to what IntelliJ is mentioning as warnings. You eradicate them and then go towards the refactoring that you're already suggesting. Um, okay. We also have person, which has a few fields in place: name, gender, father name, mother name, spouse name, and children. Each of them being like primitive strings. Um, and this is a list of person. So now, as you might have guessed, like person is, yeah, sure. They might choose to have a name which can be a free text, or everyone has their own unique name, or it can choose. It makes sense for us to make the name as a string, but gender is not like that. It cannot take a free text, right? So it can, uh, it's a finite set of values, male, female, and things like that. So we can uh, make this enum. That's a potential refactoring there. And then we also have father name, mother name also being string, whereas they can be persons by themselves, right? So these two types can be person. Also, spouse name can be a person as well. So rather than just calling it name, we can also rename it to spouse, mother, and father. List of children is list of person as children is fine. Um, yeah, okay. So, and then there are a couple of getters and setters, which are mostly unused. Yeah. So there are getters and setters around father name, mother name, gender, um, name, almost all fields that we saw with just now. Okay. And the thing we get, and these getters and setters are not doing much, but directly just allowing us to access the fields or set the fields and things like that. But so the thing with getters and setters are going to be useful only if you have a business logic in place to let's say allow you in some sense, or format the field before it is sent back, send a copy, things like that. Only then it is going to be useful. But the current way the getters and setters are written are are a sign that these fields can be public, and all of what getters and setters achieves today will continue to be supported, right? So these access modifiers can be made public um, as well, and getters and setters can just be removed, right? Yeah, so and then there are a couple of things like add child method, which is a behavior. And then it looks like there is something that, okay, looks like ID is trying to say that return value of method is never used. Yeah, so overall, like a couple of getters and setters which can be removed, and then there's this method whose return type needs revisiting. Yeah, and then there is this toString method. Also, one thing that I realize is that just having family person is probably not going to be a good enough abstraction. Like as you can see, a lot of I mean, this particular class is not having a lot of behavior, but uh, so family is going to do all the heavy lifting because we are yet to see the operation getting supported. So I'm guessing the family class already has the operations getting supported, we are able to see get relationship over here. And yeah, it's indeed doing a lot, right? So like things like having a switch case in place to handle different relationships, getting and like basically delegating it to a particular to an inline method which is trying to do that. So get son, get daughter, things like that. Yeah, so this seems like a lot that is in place. A whole lot of code that is being thrown in to a single class. So look out for this sort of code smell, as this might indicate that right amount of abstractions are lacked into the code base. And it might need and it means that you might need to put in that abstraction to take away the implementation which is bloating up the current class. Okay, so we'll be putting in abstractions in place to pull away these implementations from family. Similarly, there is find person, which will help us whether to know when to throw person not found and proceed with the operation. There is add spouse as well and add relation, things like that. A lot of printing that is scattered uh, all over the place rather than just being around, one of the print methods that we saw over here. Yeah, so and I think the family class is also having a lot of these things like map, which is just holding the record. I mean, also like a little bit about the name is that everything. I mean, within the class, the field is going to store something or the other. So that way, everything is a record. So record as a name doesn't reveal anything about the field, right? So you're forced to take a look at the type of it and then guess what is the purpose of this particular field. So that's another reason why you should name things correctly. So why I'm stressing on all of these code smells is particularly because it will help you gain these two important badges that companies will look for, which is readability and oops. So it's important for you to understand that and implement in your submissions. So similar to how record is today, we also have spouse record, which is also a map of person to person. So here I'm guessing it is named to a particular person, right? So Shan to King. So Shan is the name of the king. So Shan, and then the value is the actual person object, which is king in this case. Similarly, Anga and Queen. Uh, yeah, so this is going to be about name to person, and this is going to be about one person to their spouses. Yeah, okay, cool. I think we have covered most of it. Also, there is a lot lack of you know error uh, encapsulate like abstraction for just errors as well. So as you know, Java has these exceptions, and I think we might benefit from having used them just like in case of things like the edge cases of a person not being found, child addition being failed, and things like that. So overall, this lack of abstraction seems like most of the issue with this current code base. Okay, also one more thing that I wanted to draw attention towards is this static. So static generally is a code smell unless you are using a singleton pattern. In this case, the program during its lifetime is going to deal with just one family tree at a time. If that is not the case with your program or the challenge that you have signed up with, then you shouldn't be using static. Okay, so basically this static is going to be helpful here in because are going to, create a family once using the input family, which is the initial state that we saw in main, and then preserve that and keep reusing that as a family throughout the life cycle of the program. So singleton pattern as in this, the one that you are seeing in front of you. So get family instance is basically taking a look at whether the current field is null or not. If it is null, only then it is trying to create a new family. Otherwise, it is going to return the same family object. Um, yeah. Okay. Also, a couple of things like unused class level fields look like something that is cutting across the um, solution. Yeah, also use of maps is kind of unnecessary because most of it is just one-to-one relations that is getting captured over here, which means once we put in right abstractions in place, we'll be able to store these as values. So for example, spouse record, to replace this particular map, I can just say just reuse what spouse field does here. So uh, just make this a person and then call this a spouse. That way, this person has this particular spouse is being cleared, and I no longer will require this one-to-one relation preserving map. Um, yeah, so also one last thing is the use of null. So returning null as part of a particular method call is going to result in null pointer exception, which I think a lot of places in this code, IDE is going to already suggest. Um, so if we are trying to use the use the person object without doing a null if not null check, so it's things like this. Yeah, you can see over here. So it reads method invocation add child may produce null pointer exception. Yeah, line number 75. I hope it's visible to all. So yeah, so this may return null pointer exception. Also a good use case for exception to be thrown rather than an out of the blue value like null being returned. Yeah. Okay. Cool. With that, let's take some questions from the chat. I'll have a checkpoint here. Okay. Are there any questions in the chat? Anyone from Geektrust can help me with the questions in the chat?
Pranav, Parth is also helping out on the chat bit.
Okay.
If you have the PDF for the problem, the coding challenge, you can probably share that. So people can get some context also.
Okay, fine. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, let me do that right away. Meanwhile, any other questions? Okay, I take that as no. Is it okay if I share at the end of the session?
Yes, sure. We have 3 questions also to come up, Pranav, if you can see.
Okay. Okay. Navnath says why try catch is not used. Okay. I think that's because we are overall lacking in the usage of exceptions in the current code base. So try catch goes hand in hand with throw. So unless we are throwing any exception, we can't use try catch. So or it's inappropriate to use try catch. So we don't have the try catch in place. Where we can find Python code snippet. I think, yeah, this particular solution is going to be focused only on Java, so won't be having a Python snippet around that. Please suggest how to get maintainability badge. So Namrata, I think the maintainability badge is going to be around as long as you ensure this readability and hooks. I think you can you might also get maintainability badge, but I think um, it makes sense for you to also give us a specific instance, or share your question in the Discord, basically, where uh, people from Geektrust can also answer. So make sure that you post your question there as well. For test cases, when a function is returning nothing, we can use null as return type in that place to test. Okay, Pooja, I think overall the problem with null is that it will cause surprises at one point or the other. Um, and a return of null in general is bad, and you shouldn't do it for any reason, like let alone testing. So the right thing to do is to change the signature of the method to be void. Java doesn't really enforce that, you should be having uh, a return type for sure for every method that you write. So in this case, add spouse doesn't return anything, so it chooses to have a return type of void. And but the case with that is it becomes hard to test in the sense that you'll then have to rely on the side effect that it had. Something like checking the spouse record in this case would be required to make sure that add spouse had the desired effect while testing this particular method. Okay. Yeah, I believe that covers most of the questions. Um, yeah, so with that, let's get into the solutioning of this. So to begin with, uh, let's tackle all the low-hanging fruits. Something like unused imports can be removed right away. So it's just like ID knows that a couple of uh, imports are unused, so it is going to help us by just removing it. Also, unnecessary or redundant initialization can be removed. Yeah, so every file we visit, we'll try to eradicate all the yellow lines that you might see on the right hand side. Okay, so and then we have a couple of things here, getters and setters. I think something that is unused is can be on its way to just get deleted. So I'm going to delete them. So lessen the code, it's going to help us by focusing on things that really matter, and think about how to refactor the right things. So let's get all the unnecessary stuff out of the way. Okay, so there is some unnecessary getters in place as well. Get father's name. I believe for this we'll have to take a look at the usage first and then start using the right uh, change its usage to not rely on get father's name and then delete them. So similarly with other getters that we have in place. Yeah, let's start that if no other low hanging fruit is there. Yeah, okay, there's another here. We can simply remove this. Okay, cool. I'll keep going down. And yeah, I think we have reached the end of the file. So, okay, so looks like we have removed all the easy ones from all three classes, main, person, and family. Now it's time for us to remove the used ones by just making sure that they rely on the right Okay, so this is possible by just having the right abstraction in place. Before we do this, I think it makes sense to put in that effort to remove this type from string to person. So let's try and do that. Okay. We said father name, sorry, we'll just call it father, mother, and spouse. Okay. Overall, the idea is this, right? So the insights that we have from the earlier code base is visualize the solution in the tree data structure. So obviously, like the code, like the my screen is visible, right? Hello. Hello.
Hey, no,
No,
Pranav.
it's
Yeah,
not visible.
Okay. Share again. Okay. Yeah. So now is it visible?
your text editor is visible now, Pranav.
Yeah, okay, cool, thank you. The insights around the solution that we have so far is basically that the right way to think about the solution is going to be the tree data structure. So the domain models are going to be family and person, where person is going to be equal to each node in the tree, right? This particular node is supposed to make this entire tree keep this entire tree traversable at one point of at every point of time. And yeah, basically moving from one end of the tree and to another end should just be possible by using what each of the node has to offer. So something like uh, father, mother, and spouse should enable us to go from one place to another. Okay, so because this is going to be tree, we can either use depth first search or breadth first search. Implement that in order to find a person rather than having a way to look it up from the map, um, like we do over here. Just a second. I hope yeah, so this is also looking at the map, right? So instead of this, we can easily write a depth first search or breadth first search if we just make sure that person as a node in that tree is ensuring that the entire tree is traversable at every point of time. Okay, so that's one. And then add child is adding a new node to a tree, basically. So I'm trying to describe both operations, what it means in terms of tree. So add child is just like adding a new node to a tree, and get relationship is a traversal, basically. Okay. Cool. Let's try to make this particular person class, which is person. Um, have that ability to ensure the tree is traversable at any given point of time. So children is already list of person. We have changed father, mother, and spouse to also be a type of person. Okay. Looks like we are getting a couple of compilation errors after this. So it's important for us to ensure that things are still compiling at the end of refactoring. Otherwise, it's just going to be chaos, and you may lose track of why a particular thing is failing, compilation and things like that. Okay, so we'll just reevaluate the need for this constructor once.
Hey,
Looks
Pranav,
like we already.
sorry, sorry to disturb you. You are still sharing the text editor. We are not able to see the ID.
Oh, okay. Just a second.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool. It's visible.
Is it visible now? Okay. Fine. Yeah. So okay. So looks like So just to recap, the person type is being changed all at all three places: father, mother, and spouse. And then yeah, we'll reevaluate on whether this constructor is needed or not. Currently, we already have this one in place. So I'll just keep it lean enough to make sure that name, gender, and children are something that it can initialize. We can always add father and mother later, because that is going to be the key difference here between these two gender constructors. Okay, so this one needs to be person. This one also needs to be person. Yeah, okay, so maybe I can just shift F6 over here. Then yeah, change it everywhere. Similarly, okay, cool. Yeah, so all right, looks like okay, so there are a couple of compilation errors here. Let's get rid of setters. Okay, so looks like we have this getter getting used at multiple places. Let's go there and start using person.father. Okay, looks like it's not visible from here. The reason being father as a field is private. So let's make things public. So we had removed getters and setters from these for these fields. So we are going to have this. We need to continue to support the same effect. So which means making them public will help us still continue to access outside the class. So I'm trying to do that. Made everything public now. I think we will be able to get a handle of father field. So the idea is to just remove all the dependency from this particular getter, which is why I'm trying to do this exercise. So at the end of this particular thing that I'm trying to do, I should be able to remove this getter. I'm going to reach that state. So let's try and. So this is going to be a person. Other. Looks like okay, fine. Father name and mother name. Looks like there is some problem with the indentation. Suspicious indentation after the if statement is what it says. Okay, so this is you have to be very careful when using if statement, which is guarding just uh, one statement after it. Because if you won't, if you are not going to use the curly bracket, try to use the curly bracket first of all. But if you are say if you prefer it like this, then at least make sure that you add the tabs so that Java knows that this particular guarding condition is for this particular statement. Okay, so mother not equal to nil, it's trying to say something, unwrap if statement and find clause. Okay, I think, yeah, because mother is going to be sent already, and I think we are expecting the calling place to already do that check. We can also already just add it directly without the null check. Okay. Just one more place right here. So attribution is father, mother. Okay. So similar. So this is not going. This is going to be nothing but father name is command 0. And then new person and then command father name. So we are going to use the other constructor that is in place, which is the first one. This comes in handy when we don't have like the father and the mother to add. So here we are going to just do that. Okay. And then probably this is going to be a gender of male, so just on that. Cool. So that looks like we have reached the state of compilation passing on this family class. Similarly, okay, this is the only place which is still having the compilation error. Let's get rid of it. All places of get father will just replace with father. There are places which are interested in the name of the father. So I'm just going to make sure that uh, since father is going to be a person, we have to, I mean, we can extract out the name from the name field. So I'm just ensuring that it's in place. This is the pending place. So yeah, for name. It's deleted. Okay, cool. It's gone. So now other things are like gender, which is already public. So let me try and use that. Gender. Is there any more place? Looks like it's not used, but ID is still showing that it's used. Let me try reloading it. Okay, it's gone. Simply delete get gender as well. Similarly, get name is getting used, which is already a public field. So let me try and see if I can get rid of this. Any other places? This, okay. Let me just find it in place. Right. Oh, okay. Okay, just toString is the place where the name is used in as within the person class. Yeah, so I think that's about it. All the getters and setters are now gone. So looks like what it is emerging out to be is like a data class of sorts, if people are aware. Uh, Wherein it that what this means is like it's not going to carry a too much of a behavior. It's just going to be like a data um, representing a node in a tree. And then yeah, so basically getters and setters are gone, so no more leaked encapsulation. Um, okay, so next up, what we'll do is introduce a new abstraction for gender. As we said, the gender is going to be a finite set of object, right? Finite set of values that we support. So in this case, the domain asks for uh, two genders, basically male and female. And we can start by adding them. So what I'm going to do is just add a enum and say shell. Gender enum. The supported values are going to be male and female. Okay. And let's replace them over here. This is bound to fail. Okay, so it looks like whoever calls gender is expecting to, to support string. So over there. Okay, let's first try and complete the compilation passing state for this file. Okay, so it's passing compilation for this file. Now let's go and see what it broke in other file. Okay, so looks like there are places where it's expected that the gender will be sent in as a string. And there what we can do is we need to have an enum that is being deserialized to with from the string. So in just say gender dot from. Oh, okay. By the way, I think I need to introduce that particular method there. So let me add it. So this is a pretty standard thing that you will find, from time to time that you are you need to support deserializing an enum field from a string, maybe like while JSON deserializing or things like that. So I'm just going to add that logic over here. Gender from That needs to be outside. All right. Cool. So this will help us create a gender enum from a incoming string. So yeah, something like this. Okay, so we'll make sure that it translates to places that need this. Part of this. Okay. Oh. Still closing packet. All right. Cool. Okay, there are other places like here. Okay, wait. What is this gender of a member? Okay. Okay, cool. So looks like we're back to compilation passing. Okay, there's one more place. One last place here. Gender from yeah. Cool. Uh, yeah, so there's one more place here. All right, so looks like we're almost done here. So gender, uh, I mean, we are using the right abstraction for the person now. And I think the children bit is also not needed. Okay, so let me just remove that in favor of children. Okay, cool. It's not getting used. Let me ensure that it's unused. Yeah, it's unused. Save deleting it. Okay, cool. So looks like this is how the final state of person would look like with just one behavior add child. Let's see even if that is required or not. Um, yeah, but just two constructors, no longer getters and setters with just two strings relying on the name and all the class level fields being public. Okay, so that is about person. There is also, I think, probably lead to configure relation because we see that only a few set of relation is getting supported. By the way, one thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that as part of this solution, we'll be focusing on only the relation like paternal, uncle, sister-in-law, and uh, the three direct relation, which is son, daughter, siblings. Yeah, so others are just left as an exercise for if you're interested, you can complete it. So you can, I think, as you can see that the switch case, there's a switch case around each of these relations. I'm planning to, make that as an enum. So son, daughter, siblings, paternal uncle, and sister-in-law. Okay, so let's start with that. Sun. uh, okay, cool. Yeah, so we should be able to deserialize each of them. Um, so I'll just support this on the exact same thing on the relation enum as well. Okay, so it's going to be used later on. So I'll leave it as of now unused. Yeah, so because like all of these are going to be coming in as something that the query can ask, right? Like list all the members in the family who are paternal uncles. So we can expect a string from there. So having the from for that particular instance. We can now change okay, so now we can come and revisit the switch case. So looks like we are having each of the relation getting handled in different way, right? So the implementation of getSon is basically uh, given a person, get all its children, ignore the child which is having gender as female, and then keep adding the ones with the male into this son array list, and that's yes, that's the list of son. Similarly for daughter, get all the children for a person, ignore all the gender where the ignore all the child where the gender is male, add that to the daughters list and return that. So looks like each of these relation are bringing in their own strategies of how to traverse the tree and get the information. So this is an ideal use case for something called as a interface. So looks like most of each of the methods are even sharing the signature of it. Like they take in a person, return a list of string. They take in a person, return a list of string. Yeah. So this is a theme that is cutting across all these relation getting methods. So what we'll do is introduce a new interface. Let's say relation finder. Okay, everything in this interfaces are public, so I won't bother adding that. So instead of string, I believe we can return person, because that ensures that it's traversable from one place to the other. Earlier, this abstraction was itself missing, which is why we might have primitively obsessed towards string. Um, so, okay, so I'll just say find, and then for this particular person. Okay, so all right, so then now it's time for us to implement it in a place. I say paternal uncle finder. And finder. Oops. Relation finder is what I'm calling it. Okay, now the implementation, as you might have guessed, is going to stay the same as what each of this methods are doing. Like, so for paternal finder, uncle finder, which is going to be here, just this and dump it for now over here. Um, okay, looks like the person. Oh, okay. So earlier, what used to happen is the name, father's name, which was a string, used to be sent, right? Uh, which required us to look up the record to find the person. So which is no longer required. The coming in person is itself going to be used over here. Okay, there were some special handlings in place that were happening earlier because of the dummy kind of use case which you see in the input. So this is so that there is a root in the tree which is other than Shan and Anga, so that the other roots tree can, I mean, the children from the other root tree can be spouses to the children from this Shan and Anga tree. This may not be required anymore as we can handle it in a specific way. Uh, I'll get to that in a minute. By the way, can someone confirm or lead us how are we doing on time? Hello?
Uh,
Um,
we're going good, Pranav. Maybe we can finish the session in 10 minutes. If
in 10, we have 10 minutes, is it? Okay. Um, okay, cool. So in that case, I'll shift to a solution that is that I have already prepared so that we can walk through that. Um, yeah, so essentially, we were trying to go towards this sort of a setup. So we have a bunch of finders, right? So paternal uncle finder is just this, wherein we take in a person and then send out a list of person. We iterate over each of the father's children, and then so basically that person's father and that father's father is what we will be needing in order for us to get the uncles. So we ignore all the female child and also the father, so that we only are left with uncles. So yeah, that's how we get to the paternal uncle, and then similarly, sister-in-law is just spouse's mother's children, where spouse is to be ignored, um, and gender should not be male. Okay, so that's about the couple of finders that we have extracted out. Similarly, yeah, so after all of that, we get to see that the get relationship method just comes down to this. Uh, we first try to find the person. If it is present, then we just proceed to uh, call the finder. And then, by the way, this finder is coming in from the enum that we had extracted out, paternal uncles. All of this has their own finder initialized already. So the enum is taking care of maintaining a record of which relation should use which finder. So once that is done, we can just use that to trigger the finding strategy. Yeah, and then okay, also the find person that we saw earlier, this is the depth first search implementation for it, wherein we take the root, and then if the root's name equals the incoming name, then we just return the root. Otherwise, the root's spouse can also be a potential candidate, so we check if that is true. By the way, you are seeing this not null checks because um, you know then if you look closely in the problem statement, you'll see that in the tree there are nodes with the spouses not present. So spouse is basically optional here. In this case, root out spouse is that requires the root out spouse to have the not null check. Yeah, and then we trigger the same recursively for the children within the parent root. Yeah, so that is about the person, and also at the end you will see this exception getting thrown. Person not found exception. Ignore this part because this was just to ensure that we can get to know the name as well. But what we're interested in is, if none of these results in the person getting found, then we throw the person not found exception. Similarly, there is this other operation that we wanted to support, which is add relation. So that begins by just finding the person and then adding the finding the person who is father or mother, and then adding it via the mother. So add child in the person gets to add the children to the mother's children list as well as the spouse's children list. Yeah, so this is how the person class is at the end of the refactoring. So we have the bunch of public fields, and then yeah, the add child method continues to be supported here. Yeah, and then the add spouse, as you can see over here, you'll just add spouses to both husband and wife. So husband's spouse is wife and wife's spouse is husband. So I'm capturing that over here. So it's important that the tree, when the add member happens before the add spouse is called. So you'll always be able to find the person. Yeah, okay. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it from the family side. Quick digress into the test side of things. So you might be wondering, how are you supposed to, what is a unit test and things like that. So I've written a sample one small for your understanding. Basically, a test is nothing but given a particular scenario, you're trying to see if your code is holding good, which means it's working as expected. So in this case, I'm writing a test for sister-in-law finder. So in this case, we have an input family like this. So it's important that you choose the data carefully for the test as well. Keep it as simple and focused that it can support the scenario that you have in mind. So in this case, Shan, Anga, who have a son called Chit, and then Chit and Amba, who have a daughter called Rita, and then Drita and Trita, and then a male or a son who is Vrita. And then there is the spouse relation between Jaya and Trita. So I'm trying to get a sister-in-law of Trita and expecting just Trita to appear. So which is what this is about. So test is basically the setup part of it, the actual thing that you want to call, right? So in this case, the family trees get relationship of Jaya and sister-in-law should be supported, and it should result in exactly one one thing in one element in the list, one person in the list, which is a person with name Drita. Yeah, so let's quickly run the test. By the way, also a quick thing about this is we have submissions where people try to use main as the place to test. Unit tests are very different from just triggering the program through main with a given input. And it should not be confused with having like sample input and triggering main. Your unit tests are important so that you find out that whatever you have whatever code you have in place is correct, like as in at a unit level. So in this case, I'm not testing the whole program, right? I'm just testing the sister-in-law finder. I'm not testing siblings finder. I'm not testing a daughter finder, son finder, paternal uncle finder, things like that. I'm just testing that sister-in-law finder works fine. Okay, so please do not confuse unit tests with what automation does from our side. So make sure that you use unit test to make to ensure correctness from your side before you hand over the submission to us. Okay. Cool. I think the tests are also covered. Like as in this, I hope that this gives you an idea of how to write unit tests. I'll take a few couple of questions from the chat, if there are any. Okay. Varun says, can you share this repo? Yeah, sure, Varun. We can share at the end. Okay. Aradhita says, I am failing to get encapsulation subbatch. It points to a certain class to indicate where the error is. I made all the instance variables private and updates only made through public methods. What changes should I make? Okay, so Aradhita, as I said earlier, if you have getters and setters in this case, like looks like public methods that you're pointing to are nothing but getters and setters on top of the private instance variables. While I know where you might get this idea that, usually your academic textbooks try to give that idea that, using getters and setters are okay. But in this, in software, while writing software in general, it's a bad practice in the sense that you end up adding redundant code, which something that you could have easily achieved with just public access modifier, you're achieving with the getters and setters. Okay, Pooja says, at last, can you show how to build a project? Okay, so building the project, I think it's fairly simple. I think if you follow the PDF or the are you folks able to see the screen that I'm trying to share?
Yes, Pranav, it's
The
visible.
PDF.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, you just have to follow the instructions given in the program. I mean, given in the platform to follow. Just use the build tool to ensure that it gets built. Yeah. So there is nothing except from what you see over here that needs to be done. Just follow step by step in terms of what these instructions are, and then you're good to go on your path. Okay, cool. So Pooja, I think it's better that if you reach out to us over the Discord channel or such if you're still facing problem after you follow the PDF. Okay. Thank you. All right. With that, I think I'll share a few links that will help you earn badges, get started, and things like that. And also our WhatsApp link and Discord channel. I believe Geektrust on ID is already doing it. So, however, if you need it, here is the link. Please go there and please ensure that you visit them. They are really helpful articles on how you can earn a particular badge and get started overall on the challenges. Apart from that, the general iterating on the announcements, ensure that you submit by 19th April to get the interviews between 24th and 28th. For people who submit later, they will get the interviews between May 22nd to 26th. For mobile, it is Finding Falcon. Front end, it is T-Rex Store. And the evaluation timelines for each of them may vary because for front end, we need external evaluators to check the code and give you the score. However, for backend, it's already automated. So if you're wondering which challenge to pick for backend, it's backend and full stack. It is ride sharing. It is on the live page, and you can find it in our coding challenge section. And the evaluation there is immediate upon submitting the challenge. And you just have to wait for a few minutes to find out your score. Yeah, and remember that you can submit your code as many times as you want and get the feedback and improve and resubmit for better score as well. You need to score 30, but you should and 30 to pass the challenge, but and become a member. But the higher you score is better because the chances of company noticing your profile for the BWOW event is 60 plus. The score required is 60 plus, and the readability hoops badges will get the attention really quick. And if you want the companies to come and see the code and approach you for interview, make sure that you aim for 60 plus and at least readability and hoops badge as well. Yeah, I think that's the couple of announcements that I wanted to make. Yeah, that brings us to the end of the session. I hope you enjoyed it and also learned a thing or two about refactoring. And all the best for the code submissions that you're about to do. Thank you. Over to you, Aishwarya. Hello.
Yes, Pranav. I think we have no more questions in the chat. So we can finish the session for today. We'll wait if someone has to ask anything. Otherwise, we'll end this session.
Yeah. Please share in the chat if you folks have any doubts or questions. We will be around for some time. Or you can even choose to do it over WhatsApp link or Discord channel that you shared. Okay, so Geektrust says where we can get the PDF. I'll just upload it right away. I've shared it in the chat, everybody. You can take a look at the PDF with the problem statement. I joined in late. We can get the recording of the session. I believe Aishwarya will be having the recording. Right?
Yes. We'll upload the session on YouTube and you can have it from there.
Yeah. Okay. We believe there are no more questions. Yeah, but please feel free to reach out to us over WhatsApp and Discord. So anyone from Geektrust will pitch in and answer all your doubts. All right. Good luck with the code submissions and thank you for attending this on Saturday morning. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the view of the event. Thank you.